Quick question.
Go ahead.
If you had studied harder at school, where would you have been today?
I would have been a doctor, probably.
Really?
Or completely burned out. One of the two.
And if you had taken that job in London 3 years ago?
I would have loved it, but I would have been very far from my family.
And if you had never started learning English?
I would not have been here talking to you on this podcast right now.
Exactly. Every single thing we just said. Would have been, would have loved, would not have been. That is the grammar of today's episode.
The grammar of imagining, the grammar of looking back, the grammar of what could have been different.
Welcome to TalkFluent. I am Nora.
And I am Kamal. Today we are going deep into one of the most important and most beautiful grammar structures in English, would have plus the past participle.
This episode is for B1 and B2 learners, intermediate and upper intermediate. If you already know the basics and you are ready to go further, today is for you.
We are going to explain the structure, show you real examples, use it in real natural conversations, and practice together at the end.
25 minutes. By the end, this grammar will feel natural. Let us go. Now, let us start with the big picture. What is would have plus past participle, and why do we need it?
Think about this. Sometimes we look back at the past and we imagine how things could have been different. A different choice, a different path, a different outcome.
And English has a very specific grammar structure for exactly this, for talking about imaginary situations in the past. Situations that did not happen, but could have happened if something had been different.
This structure is called the third conditional, but we are not going to call it that today, because the name sounds scary and confusing. Instead, we're just going to call it what it is.
Would have, the grammar of what could have been.
The structure is simple. Would have plus the past participle of the main verb.
Would have gone, would have said, would have been, would have known, would have done.
Would have plus the past participle. That's the whole thing. Everything else is just how you use it.
Let us look at some basic examples first. Very simple, very clear.
I studied hard. I passed the exam.
Now imagine the opposite. I did not study hard. I did not pass the exam. Looking back, I can say, if I had studied harder, I would have passed.
Would have passed. I did not pass, but in the imaginary world where I studied harder, I would have passed.
One more. She called me. I answered.
Opposite. She did not call. I did not answer. Looking back, if she had called, I would have answered.
Would have answered. In reality, I did not answer because she did not call, but in the imaginary past, I would have answered.
The structure lives in two parts. The if part, if I had done something, and the result part, I would have done something.
If I had studied harder, I would have passed. If she had called, I would have answered.
If plus past participle in the condition, would have plus past participle in the result. Together, they describe an imaginary past situation and its imaginary result.
Now, let us talk about would have been specifically, because this is one of the most common forms you'll hear.
Would have been. Been is the past participle of be. So would have been means in that imaginary situation, the state would have been different.
Examples. If I had slept more, I would have been less tired. Reality, I did not sleep more, I was very tired, but in the imaginary world, I would have been less tired.
If he had arrived on time, the meeting would have been better. Reality, he was late. The meeting was not great. But if he had been on time, it would have been better.
If we had taken the other road, we would have been there by now. Reality, we took the wrong road. We are not there yet. But in that other world, we would have been there already.
Would have been, the imaginary state. the thing that would have existed if only something had been different.
And here's something beautiful about this grammar. It's not just for regrets. It's also for gratitude, for appreciation, for understanding how the past shaped who you are.
For example, if I had not struggled with English at the beginning, I would not have been as motivated to learn. The struggle was hard, but it made me who I am.
If I had not met the right people at the right time, I would not have been here doing what I love. The past, even the difficult parts, brought me here.
Would have been can be negative too, and negative would have been is very powerful. It means the imaginary situation would have removed something, taken something away.
I would not have been happy. She would not have been ready. They would not have been able to do it. Now let us hear would have and would have been in a real, natural conversation. This is a conversation between two friends talking about a decision one of them made years ago. Listen to the whole conversation first.
Do you ever think about that summer when you almost moved to Canada?
All the time, actually. If I had gone, my life would have been completely different.
Do you think you would have been happy there?
Honestly, I think I would have been, eventually, but it would have been very hard at first. I would have been so far from everyone I loved.
Would you have stayed long term?
I think I would have. I would have built a life there. But I also would have missed so much here. My mom got sick that year. If I had been in Canada, I would not have been there for her.
That must have been a difficult decision.
It was. But looking back, I think it would have been the wrong choice for me at that time, even if it would have been an amazing adventure.
Would you have regretted it, not going?
Honestly, yes. There are days I think I would have learned so much. I would have grown so much. I would have been a different version of myself, and part of me wonders about that version.
But here you are.
Here I am, and I would not have been here, doing this, if I had made a different choice. So maybe it was right after all.
Let's look at all the would-haves in that conversation. There were many. Let's slow them down.
My life would have been completely different. Imaginary result of going.
I would have been happy eventually. Imaginary state in Canada.
It would have been very hard. Imaginary difficulty.
I would have been so far from everyone. Imaginary distance. Imaginary loneliness.
I would have stayed long term. Imaginary decision.
I would have built a life there. Imaginary future from the past.
I would have missed so much. Imaginary loss.
I wouldn't have been there for her. Negative. The imaginary absence. The thing that would have been missing.
It would have been the wrong choice. Imaginary judgment.
It would have been an amazing adventure. Imaginary positive.
I would have learned so much. Imaginary growth.
I would have grown so much. Imaginary personal development.
I would have been a different version of myself. Imaginary identity.
I wouldn't have been here. Negative. Without the choice she made, she would not be here now.
14 examples in one natural emotional conversation about a real human moment, a decision, a crossroads, a what if.
And every single one felt natural, not like grammar, like life.
Now let us talk about the short forms, because in real conversation, nobody says would have in full every time.
In fast, natural speech, would have becomes would've. I would have called you. She would have known. They would have been happy.
Would've. WOULD''VE. This is how it sounds in real English.
And would not have becomes wouldn't have. I wouldn't have said that. She wouldn't have known. They wouldn't have come.
Let us practice the short forms. Listen and repeat.
I would have called you.
I would have called you.
She wouldn't have known.
She wouldn't have known.
They would have been so happy.
They would have been so happy.
He wouldn't have done that.
He wouldn't have done that.
We would have been late.
We would have been late.
It wouldn't have mattered.
It wouldn't have mattered. These short forms are essential. They are what real English sounds like at natural speed. Now, there is something very important we need to address, a very common mistake that even intermediate learners make.
The would have, would of confusion.
Yes, because would've sounds like would-of when you say it fast. Would've, would-of. They sound almost the same.
But would of is not correct English. It does not exist. The correct written form is always would have or would have with the apostrophe VE.
So when you write, always write would have or would've with the apostrophe VE, never would-of, even though it sounds that way when people speak quickly.
The same goes for could have, never could of, and should have. Pattern 1. Would have plus past participle. Used to speculate about the past. Not just imagining what you would have done, but guessing what probably happened.
For example, she never arrived. I wonder what happened. I think she would have got stuck in traffic. It was rush hour.
Would have got stuck. This is speculation, a guess. Based on what you know, you think this is probably what happened.
Another example. He did not answer his phone all day. He would have been busy. He always has a lot of meetings on Thursdays.
Would have been busy. Not imagining a different past, guessing what was probably true about the past, based on what you know about that person.
This use is very common in conversation, when you are thinking aloud about why something happened the way it did.
She would have known about the problem. Someone must have told her. It would have been obvious to anyone who was paying attention. This is all speculation about the past, educated guesses.
Pattern 2. Would have to describe something that was going to happen but did not because something else got in the way.
For example, I would have called you, but my phone died.
I would have come to the party, but I was not feeling well.
She would have finished the report, but the system crashed.
These sentences explain why something did not happen. The would have describes the intention, and then but explains the obstacle, the thing that prevented it.
I would have called, but my phone died. The intention was there. The action did not happen. The but explains why.
This pattern is incredibly useful in daily conversation, for explaining, for apologizing, for giving context.
I would have been on time, but the traffic was terrible. I'm not making excuses. I'm explaining what happened.
Would have plus but. Very natural, very common, very real.
Let us hear a second full conversation. This one is at work. Two colleagues talking about a project that went wrong. Listen first. I heard the presentation did not go well yesterday.
It really didn't. I think it would have gone much better if we'd had more time to prepare.
I agree. I would have helped you, but I had that conference call that ran over.
I know, it's fine. I think the client would have been more impressed if the data had been clearer.
Would the outcome have been different if you had presented it differently?
Honestly, yes. I think they would have understood the proposal better, and they would have been more likely to say yes.
What would you have done differently?
I would have started with the results instead of the process. People always want to know what they get, not how you get it. I would have been more direct, more confident.
Would they have signed the contract?
I think they would have. Maybe. It's hard to know, but I wouldn't have felt so disappointed in myself if I had prepared better.
What do you need for next time?
More time, better data, and someone to practice with. That would have made a real difference. That would have been enough.
Let us look at the would-haves in this work conversation.
It would have gone much better. Imaginary better outcome.
I would have helped you. Intention that did not happen.
The client would have been more impressed. Imaginary reaction.
Would the outcome have been different? Question form. Notice in a question, would comes first. Would the outcome have been? Would you have done?
They would have understood better. Imaginary comprehension.
They would have been more likely to say yes. Imaginary positive response.
I would have started with the results. Imaginary different approach.
I would have been more direct. Imaginary different behavior.
They would have signed. Imaginary positive outcome.
I wouldn't have felt so disappointed. Negative. The thing that would have been avoided.
That would have made a real difference. Imaginary impact.
That would have been enough. Imaginary sufficiency. 12 examples. A completely natural work conversation. Real situations. Real emotions. Real English.
Let us practice together. I'm going to give you a real situation. You complete the sentence using would have or would have been. Ready?
Ready.
Situation 1. You were late for work because you missed the bus. If you had woken up earlier.
I would have caught the bus. I wouldn't have been late.
Perfect. 2 results. 1 positive, would have. 1 negative, wouldn't have been. Situation 2. Your friend did not tell you about the party. You did not go. If she had told you.
I would have gone. I would have been so happy to be there.
Beautiful. Situation 3. Speculate. Your colleague did not reply to your email all day. Why? Make a guess with would have.
He would have been in meetings all day. Or he would have been traveling. He travels a lot for work.
Excellent. Speculation. 2 possibilities, both with would have been. Situation 4. Use would have plus but. You did not finish the report. Explain why.
I would have finished the report, but the internet went down for 3 hours.
Perfect. Would have plus but, explaining the obstacle. Situation 5. You studied English alone for years. It was hard, but it brought you here. Make a positive reflection.
If I hadn't kept going, I would never have reached this level. I wouldn't have been able to have conversations like this one.
That is beautiful and true. Situation 6. Question form. Ask me, if you had chosen a different career, what would have been different in your life?
If you had chosen a different career, what would have been different in your life?
Everything. Absolutely everything. And I wouldn't have been here, which would have been a real loss for me and hopefully for you too.
And last one, make a short negative sentence, something that wouldn't have been possible without something else.
Without the people who believed in me, none of this would have been possible. Not one bit of it.
Final summary. Would have plus past participle. What it is, when to use it, how it sounds.
Use it to talk about imaginary past situations, things that did not happen but could have if something had been different. If I had studied harder, I would have passed.
Use would have been for imaginary past states. I would have been happier. It would have been perfect. They would have been ready.
Use would have to speculate about the past, to make educated guesses. He would have been stuck in traffic. She would have known already.
Use would have plus but to explain why something didn't happen. I would have called, but my phone died.
Short forms, would've and wouldn't have. Always would've, never would've. Write it correctly even when you say it fast.
Question form, would comes first. Would it have been different? Would you have gone? Would she have known?
And 3 golden sentences to take with you today. Say them out loud, right now.
If I had known, I would have done things differently.
She wouldn't have been ready without more time.
I would have called, but I lost track of time.
Say them again, out loud.
If I had known, I would have done things differently.
She wouldn't have been ready without more time.
I would have called, but I lost track of time.
Would have is not just a grammar structure. It's one of the most human things we do with language.
We look back, we wonder, we reflect, we imagine the paths we didn't take, we appreciate the ones we did.
If I hadn't started this podcast, I wouldn't have met you, all of you listening right now, and that I genuinely wouldn't have traded for anything.
If we hadn't kept going on the hard days, we wouldn't have been here with you, having this conversation.
Would have is the grammar of the life we lived and the life we imagined, and the beautiful gap between the two.
Write us a comment below. Tell us, if you had started learning English earlier, where would you have been today? Use would have in your answer. We want to read every single one.
And if today's episode helped you, share it with someone who's ready to take their English to the next level, because B1 and B2 learners deserve content that takes them seriously, and that's exactly what TalkFluent is here for.
I'm Kamal.
I'm Nora. Keep growing, keep imagining, and we'll see you in the next one.